Hi, version 1.6 of Honkai Star marks the last version of this game until version 2.0. It has been 6 patches since the release of this game and we've gotten a lot of new characters. So I would like to take a step back and look at what were the best releases of version 1.x, as I think it will be interesting to look at what characters made the biggest impact in the first era of this game. This ranking is not based on who simply is the strongest, as that would just be a tier list, but rather based on who stirred out the meta the most and who will continue to pass the test of time in addition to their strength. Before we start, I'll be giving away a supply pass / welcome rune / crystal card to my subscribers at 3k subs, so make sure you subscribe to enter. Number 5. Silly. Now before you all question me, let me reiterate, this ranking is based on meta shakeup, future proofing and strength. As our first ever limited 5-star unit, she continues to be a staple in whatever game mode you decide to play her in. No matter if you're playing Memory of Chaos, or Simulated Universe and its expansions, or even the brand new game mode that, let me highlight, is an AoE content made for AoE characters, called Pure Fiction, and yet our Hunt single target character is one of the best at it. And despite being 6 patches old, she's still one of the best DPSs in this game, and that says a lot about her future proofing and strength. Yes, she is no Lule, as she can't do damage per screenshot like he can. Yes, she's no Jinlu, who can do insane damage with low skill point cost, but all that really doesn't matter when she is more than capable of clearing any content in this game. The fact of the matter is that her talent, Resurgence, is just one of the most broken single abilities in this game. I've said this many times before and I'll continue to say it. Gaining bonus turns in a turn-based game is straight up bending the rules of the game, and things that bends the rules of this game is naturally gonna be strong. And let's not mention her meta shakeup. She made the meta. The meta is based around her. She was our first limited 5-star unit. Number 4. Kafka. You know how I'm emphasizing meta shakeup and future proofing as key points on this ranking? Well, that is Kafka's middle name. Kafka is the backbone of all DOT. She single-handedly brought DOT into the meta. Before her release, DOT was more of a meme kind of stuff. But with her release, DOT is actually one of the most strong options in this game. In fact, she affects the meta so much that if she did not exist, every DOT unit would become straight up garbage. Well, of course I'm exaggerating, but reality is, playing DOT teams without Kafka is just not a fun experience, and we're not even mentioning her future proofing. Kafka's release enables a whole new type of niche to be further developed. Hoyo now has more incentive to make more characters focus on DOT, and even standalone ones that doesn't require Kafka. Because ultimately, if it doesn't work out, you can always just use Kafka with her to bring that character back to life. I mean, if a character can make a tier list completely flip on one side and is only getting stronger as more and more characters are released, it only makes sense we acknowledge the impact she made to this game, even if she is still nowhere near her max potential. Number 3. Foran. Foran is kind of a funny one. Basically, everything in her kit is a big screw you to the game's enemies' core mechanics. Well, let's take a quick look. When enemies attack you, you take damage, except Foran reduces that because why not? When enemies stun you, you get stunned, except Foran doesn't allow you to get stunned. When enemies lock onto one ally, that ally most likely dies, except Foran says, that's my damage now. Oh yeah, and for some reason, just straight up mitigating damage isn't enough. She can full heal herself and give crit rate to the team. Remember what I said about bending the rules of a turn-based game is strong? Yeah, well, Foran's whole kit is basically that. Well, she definitely didn't bring anyone into the meta like Kafka or set a standard for a good DPS like Silly. She definitely set a new high for what a sustain unit is capable of. Because before her release, it was all healers and Japard, which let me say, it's nothing to scoff at, but Foran really brings stuff to the table that really makes us feel bad playing a team without her. And damage mitigation is very universal, which means that while it's nice for general characters, for current and future characters that hate shields, they'll much prefer Foran. Number 2. Jinlu. Just like how Foran set a new high for sustain, Jinlu set a new high for DPS. While Imbabuta Lune has arguably higher DPS, throughout a whole fight, eventually Jinlu catches up and marks a similar total DPS. She can do that while also being significantly less skill point hungry than Lune. This is a key point I want to touch on, and kinda what makes Jinlu's release such an important matter. Jinlu's release sets a new peak for what it means to be DPS. No more skill point hungry selfishness in trade for high damage. Now we can expect the best of both worlds, both dishing out insane damage while also being considerate to the team's skill points. Being skill point efficient means a plethora of great things, but there are two main ones I want to touch on. One is that it means that you'll likely have more extra skill points for any emergency heals or additional buffs. Like, you know when your team is just a few energy off getting her ultimate, but a basic attack isn't enough? Well, that extra skill point can help instead. Or you know when your team unit gets targeted by every single enemy and she almost dies? Well, that extra skill point can heal her instead. And 2, it means she has a lot more teammate options compared to a skill point hungry unit like Lune. Double DPS comps are more comfortable like Jinlu with Blade, and you can run more skill point hungry supports like Bronya and Silverwolf, which can sometimes tip the DPS in her favor compared to Lene when it's forced to choose specific supports instead. All in all, that is to say, she really is the king or actually the queen of DPS, and most likely no one's gonna come close to her anytime soon. For honorable mentions, I'd like to quickly mention Blade and Locha. For Blade, it's kind of the same reason as Jinlu, the skill point efficiency which leads to many upsides in addition to great damage. And Locha, who set the standard for sustain, because if you're gonna need skill points, you better do more than just sustain your team, otherwise Locha, who does it for free, just overshadows all of them. Number 1. Rame. I mean, I'm sure most of you guys are not surprised, but the character literally breaking the game right now, and also enemy weaknesses, ends up at number 1. It has been a long time coming, but we finally got one. We finally got a limited 5-star Harmony, and boy is she good. I don't think I need to praise her too much, as well I'm sure you guys already heard enough, but just to list out her main strength, which are breaking efficiency, it's broken, resist penetration, it's rare and it's broken, team-wide damage buff and speed buff because why not, and all while being able to keep all these buffs at 100% uptime quite easily and be skill point positive. Look, I don't need to say much more, but we listed out the best sustain, we listed out the best DPS, naturally we're gonna have to list out the best buffer. She really is the one buffer that does it all, anywhere, anytime. Not being tied to a base stat like HP or attack means that she can be literally used anywhere with anyone. And her kit being all AoE buffs makes her the premier support for double DPS teams like Kafa teams, as they were kinda just stuck with Asta for the longest time. Roma is not a replacement to all your supports, but rather she is the support. No one buffs quite like her and have stayed that way for a very long time. Unless they make a support that does what Bronya does but in a much better way. But that's a topic for another day.